Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, isn't it rich? All of a sudden, the left is going on and on about supposed doctored videos and misinformation, throwing a damn hissy fit about how dangerous it is to spread false narratives and to lie how Republicans are always playing a game of distraction. How frickin' rich. You know, you guys don't get to do that. Democrats don't get to lecture us on cheap fakes. That's the topic of today's video. Let's take a look at the tantrum that's currently going on, and then of course, let's have a conversation about it. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so we're still talking about that one clip where Joe Biden was wandering aimlessly at the G7. Supposedly, that clip is fake. It's a cheap fake, and Republicans are spreading a fake narrative about Joe Biden.
All right.
You wanted to say something about
Maloney, I don't have anything. I don't know specifically what happened with Maloney.
the wandering, the parachutist,
Oh,
etc.?
I mean, look, that was, as I said, it was a cheap, a cheap fake. That was definitely a cheap fake. It was. This was widely fact-checked. That video was widely fact-checked, including by conservatives media, on what happened, what occurred. The president walked over to give a thumbs up to divers who had just landed right in front of him, and if you run that tape a little bit longer, you would see what was happening, what the president was actually doing, and it is a cheap fake.
So this
That is what.
about nothing, and he's totally normal.
What I'm saying is, this is a president, right? Let's step back for a second. Instead of, and I said this moments ago, instead of Republicans, focusing on the president's performance in office and what he's been able to accomplish, his actual record, they do these cheap fakes. They're cheap fakes. And you're asking me about the Maloney, you're asking me what happened. That video was, okay, let's talk about Juneteenth. The president stood there listening to the music, and he didn't dance. Excuse me, I did not know not dancing was a health issue. That is a weird thing to actually flag when, if you look at the people who are around him, you look at the expanded video of the people who were around him, they were not. There were some folks who were not dancing either, and that has been fact checked. I mean, just because you're standing up listening to music and not dancing, that is not a health issue. That is just not a health issue.
Give me a frickin' break. We're spreading a fake narrative. It's cheap fakes. No, it's a pattern of behavior. They want to pretend as if this whole thing's been fact-checked and debunked. All the fact-checkers and all the debunkers already clarified the record. No, they didn't. They played defense for Joe. They claimed, well, he was actually talking to another person in the background. That changes literally nothing. We knew that he was talking to a person in the background. The point is, time and a place. He's the president of the United States at the G7. He ought to be paying attention, not roaming around aimlessly and forgetting every 2 seconds where he is. But apparently, that's the observation here, but Democrats want to nitpick and pretend to fact-check with ridiculous semantics, and the accusation is that Republicans are lying about Joe Biden. Quote, they don't have a message, they don't have anything to run on, and they don't want the topic of conversation to be about Joe Biden's track record, so this is what they're doing, resorting to cheap fakes. Give me a frickin' break. First of all, Republicans have all kinds of things to run on. The people who have nothing to run on, well, that's obviously the Joe Biden camp, constantly going on about the democracy being a threat or whatever. You're the ones with nothing to talk about. You're the ones attempting to imprison your political opponent because you literally have no leg to stand on. How utterly ridiculous. The memes already started rolling out. There's this one from Dre Fanzer Memes, which was absolutely killer.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here. Okay, so you did not see Biden wandering around aimlessly, freezing up, shitting himself, sniffing dignitaries, falling asleep, drinking cocktails, and what you actually saw were cheap fakes. It's like a deep fake, but it's just the real video that we don't want people to see.
It's perfect parody. You didn't see what you were seeing. No, those were cheap fakes. What a joke, but it's pretty much the running trend here. This is what they do. Inflation is through the roof. No, inflation is actually very moderate, they told you. The border's in crisis. No, the border's actually secure. They think you're stupid. They think you're blind. They think you're deaf. They think you're easily programmable. There's simply no other way to describe this kind of behavior. They are actually trying to pretend as if this whole thing is a Republican conspiracy theory. Here's the perfect interaction, actually, to make that point.
Secondly, there seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern that we're seeing more often.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here.
That White House reporter asked about a rash of videos that have been, quote, edited to make President Biden appear especially frail or mentally confused. The absolute audacity of these people. Videos have been edited to make Joe Biden appear? We don't need to make Joe Biden appear as mentally unfit for office. He appears that way, openly, live, in front of the camera, every week, making it quite apparent to us that he's obviously not well.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him. Look, a solid meeting with the Los Angeles and what am I doing here?
I mean, for Pete's sakes, the guy's freaking falling apart. He can't even campaign.
You know, they said that the former president's been off and the current president's been on. Really? I mean, I thought the president had a horrible week. I don't think Michael Steele can actually believe what he just said, the former RNC chair. The president Biden's been on? I mean, he arrives at the G7. He's got to sleep a day. He blows off a dinner. This is the stuff where you get things done, where you use your friendships to get some knowledge on the economy, on the military, what's going on with Vladimir Putin. You would hope. You would think, but not if you go to sleep. Well, so how could that look good? I mean, how could you say they did well? And then when Zelensky says, I need you to stick around to Switzerland for a way forward with a peace summit with Russia, he says, sorry, Jimmy Kimmel's got a gig for me, and George Clooney's going to be there with his half shirt unbuttoned, and I need to show up there. And he sends the vice president instead of sitting with Ukraine, while the former president sits in Detroit within an all-black church.
Yeah, 100%.
He's having celebrities go out on the campaign trail for him, but apparently we're just inventing it. Not actually happening, doesn't actually exist, just a figment of your imagination. Apparently Joe Biden's issue of looking severely unwell and mentally unfit is a result of a Republican cheap fake misinformation operation. So incredibly frickin' rich. Coming from the people who literally lie about everything. Coming from the people who do nothing but take clips and misrepresent them completely out of context. Coming from the people who literally lie about everything. Yeah, you don't get to do that. These are the same people who pushed for the 25th Amendment to be used against former President Donald Trump because he carefully walked down a slippery ramp attempting not to fall. Yeah, if that wasn't a cheap fake, if that wasn't misrepresenting reality to promote a bogus narrative, then I don't know what is. Or the countless other times they've taken Trump's quotes out of context or released frivolous reporting based on unsubstantiated facts. This is nothing but pure projection. Republicans aren't making anything to appear as anything else. We're simply pointing out the obvious. And these leftoids are absolutely triggered. Keep screeching, keep crying, go on and on with your ridiculous tantrums. It will change absolutely nothing. The president has been pegged as a clear incompetent, a geriatric fool with a melting brain. You could try to fact check all the clips that exist on the internet all you want, but the facts simply won't change. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Just a short little video expressing my frustration with yet again another ridiculous Karine Jean-Pierre clip. She's just like the person who hired her, the absolute worst. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.